And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Tuesday, August 27th. We have a lot to cover on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, that if you want to donate or tip to the show, we did qualify for Super Chat, so if you go to the $ icon in the chat menu, you can put out a Super Chat that'll be highlighted during the live broadcast. I will acknowledge it, and it just makes the show better, more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. And also, the alternative way to help out the show is going to the link, GSMCPodcast.net, which is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment. We appreciate your guys' viewership each and every day. So, let's get into what we are going to discuss on the show. So, you saw the graphic already, but we're going to start off the show. We're going to talk about CeeDee Lamb finally getting his new contract. We'll discuss it. I'm happy that this saga has ended. I mean, we're hoping that the Brandon Ayuk saga ends eventually because, that's been going on longer. But CeeDee Lamb finally gets paid, and I think I brought it up yesterday that he's not going to. Well, I brought it up on previous shows too, but also Adam Schefter said it as well. CeeDee Lamb was not missing any games. So we'll get into that in a second. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about, I know I brought it up a little bit yesterday, we'll talk about Juju Smith-Schuster signing with the Kansas City Chiefs, and we'll just talk about the Chiefs receiving corps in general. Where does he fit in the receiving corps? We'll also get into talking about Drake May and his performance from over the weekend. We'll also get into talking about the 2022 draft class of quarterbacks. I know I did a segment during the offseason talking about the 2021 draft class, but also talking about the 2022 draft class as well, and just how things have changed since those quarterbacks first came into the league. Then, in the final part of the show, we'll talk about Mike Tomlin and the Steelers quarterback situation, and Mike Tomlin naming the starting quarterback at the end of the week. So I'll get into that as well. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about CeeDee Lamb and his new contract. So it's finally over. At least his situation is finally over. And, throughout the offseason, I've said, it seems that the Cowboys are prioritizing getting a deal with CeeDee Lamb done over Dak. Now, they're trying to work out a deal with Dak as well, but CeeDee Lamb, they get his deal done, and look, I mean, here are the numbers, and I know I've had graphics up of his stats, but these are his stats from last year, and, with the season that he was coming off of, he deserved to get a new contract. And I said that, because Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the league, I think, Jefferson deserves to be the highest paid receiver. But CeeDee Lamb got a contract that is similar to Justin Jefferson's. So he agreed to a 4-year, $136 million extension with the Cowboys. The contract includes $100 million guaranteed and a $38 million signing bonus. And now when it comes to the AAV, he's only behind Justin Jefferson. So Justin Jefferson is making $35 million a year. CeeDee Lamb is making $34 million a year. So really right around the same numbers. But he's been holding out since OTAs, been looking for that new contract, and, it just seemed like Jerry Jones is kind of, pulling him along with some of his comments. I think he was saying that, there's no urgency to get a deal done. And Cowboy fans are like, why are you saying that? He's, arguably the best receiver in the league. I mean, I think Justin Jefferson is, but CeeDee Lamb is right up there, especially with the season that he had last year. But they do get a deal done, and this is big. And like I said, I said it, Adam Schefter said it. CeeDee Lamb is not going to miss time. He was always going to be playing week one. with these negotiations, sometimes it just doesn't look like that. It seems like all hope is lost. Now, sometimes you'll have players hold out and it leaks into the regular season. Like last year, we saw Chris Jones with the Chiefs. I mean, obviously, Le'Veon Bell, he held out for an entire season, which was a huge mistake on his part, and he regrets it. But, you know, with CeeDee Lamb, I never really got the sense that he was going to miss time. And it ends up not happening. Because I did talk about the Cowboys receiving core. Because outside of CeeDee Lamb, you got an older Brandon Cooks, and then you got a bunch of question marks. So they really needed this guy going into the season. And he's going to continue to be a big piece on this offense. He's the best player on offense besides Dak. So when it comes to the playmakers. So they really needed to make sure that he was ready to go. And he's going to be. And I expect him to have another monster season. Now, I don't know if he's going to be able to replicate these exact numbers, but he definitely can. He's in the prime of his career right now. And now the Cowboys, they move towards Dak and seeing if they can get a deal done with him. Now, I've still been saying all along that I think Dak might be the odd man out because you still got to pay Micah Parsons as well. But if they end up paying Dak, then that goes out the window. But it just seemed, I don't know, the way it's has seemed that Dak's probably going to leave. But I could be wrong. The other thing I wanted to bring up too, this is kind of like a minor thing, but the Cowboys are actually bringing in Dalvin Cook for a visit. And I don't know, for me, I might be in the minority, but I feel like Dalvin Cook still has some good football left in him. I mean, I just think last year with the Jets, it just wasn't a good fit. The Jets' offensive line was not good. Breece Hall was healthy, so Dalvin Cook really couldn't get into a rhythm. But, and Aaron Rodgers gets hurt. I just feel like there was a lot of things that went wrong with the Jets. I don't really think it was just Dalvin Cook fell off a cliff. Because the previous season, still had a good year with the Vikings. I just don't think that all disappears in one year. But, you see guys like Leonard Fournette with the Buccaneers. And, wasn't bad his final year in Tampa, but no team signed him. So, the Bills signed him, but he didn't really play that much. I don't know. I might be in the minority with saying that about Dalvin, but like Dalvin Cook could be like I think he could be a good fit with Dallas. But how much of a workload is he going to get if they do indeed bring him in and sign him? So I don't know. That's just something else I wanted to bring up. Let me know what you guys think though about that. But I think he'd be an upgrade over what they have. That's just me. But this was very important. Back to CeeDee Lamb. This is really important that the Cowboys were able to get this done. And now we just got to see how they handle the Dak situation. How does that all go down? But I'm still of the mindset that he's going to end up leaving. But only time will tell. But CeeDee Lamb gets his contract. He deserves it. And if you got your fantasy drafts coming up, like I do, now I'm probably not going to end up getting him wherever I'm picking. Well, at least I know for Wednesday, tomorrow, I got no shot at getting him. Now, my Friday draft, it remains to be seen. Like, I could get the number 2 overall pick, and if I get that, I could take him. I could take Tyreek Hill. But I don't know yet. Gotta randomize the order there. So, but this is big for the Cowboys. Their fan base can exhale just a little bit. Well, more than a little bit. because he's their best player on offense. And if you don't have him going into this game against the Browns, I mean that only makes this game tougher. But you got him, so that makes things a lot easier. So, good for CeeDee Lamb for getting paid, and now we can move forward, at least with CeeDee Lamb. But we still got to see what happens with Dak. Obviously, when it comes to other receivers, you got Brandon Ayuk. We're still waiting on, when he's going to get paid, and if he's going to get traded. There's still things that have to be figured out, but at least we got one of those things solved. So, that's really my thoughts on it. But let me know what you guys think, though, about CeeDee Lamb's new contract. How do you see him performing in 2024? I mean, again, I think he's going to have another great year if he stays healthy. But this was big for the Cowboys to get this done. So when we come back from our next break, or our first break of the show, rather, we'll talk about another receiver. We'll talk about Juju Smith-Schuster signing with the Kansas City Chiefs, signing back with the Kansas City Chiefs after, his 2022 season. He went and signed with the Patriots, and now he's back again. So we'll talk about the impact of that. I'll give you my thoughts as the Chiefs have rounded out their receiving core going into the regular season. So I'll get into all that when we come back from our first break of the show. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.